All right, I'm really, really excited about this conversation. I'll let Coco introduce herself. I'm really excited about this because this is a very, very, very important topic, especially for this space. So please introduce yourself, where you're from, and give us a synopsis of your PastPass initiative. And thank you for joining us.
Karibu. Can you guys hear me clearly? Oh, you're good. Okay. So I'm Emma Mbeke Nzioka. Those are my government names. And I go by the name Coco Em. I'm a DJ, a producer. I've curated a few festivals here and there. I'm an activist, some people would say. Some people say noisemaker. If you've heard this line before, because I've spoken 3 times at this here ADE, I'm sorry. You're about to hear a lot of repetition. But yeah, I've been DJing for close to 6 years now, professionally, 6 to 7 years. I don't have management in the traditional sense of management, but I like to consider all my friends in my community, people like you, Meedy, who book me for panels like these, Justin Doucette in the room, who's also a co-founder of PastPass and my tour manager, my friends, everybody who's booked me along this way, who's pushed me along the way, is part of my management team community. So yeah, that's a little bit about my music side. I make film as well. I'm a DOP on the side, a photojournalist, etc. That's that other side. And you've asked what the inspiration for PastPass is? What's the second question? Yeah, okay, cool. So first of all, I want to appreciate this because for me, it's like a full circle moment. I met Meedy 1 year ago at ADE at a panel just like this. It was curated by Jackie Queens, who's in the room, so shout out Jackie Queens. Bringing forth these topics that are not as sexy as AI and YouTube, Spotify, masterclasses. It's a lot more on the grimy side, I would say. I've had the privilege of traveling to 37 countries globally. And having to apply for those documents without clear guidance has been grueling, it's been frustrating. And so starting PastPass for me was a bit of a move to reclaim that power. When you arrive at an airport and someone tells you, you look like someone who will go to Europe and disappear there because yeah, you know, we know girls like you like to go and get white men. So this actually happened to me once, trying to travel to Cape Verde via Amsterdam. I had a full year Schengen, and that was still not enough. Because even getting that full year Schengen is another like beast of a process. So PastPass was sort of this space where I could be like, you know what? But also I can do something about this with all the experience that we've gathered traveling through like, you know, all of Europe, most of Europe, I would say, and connecting with people who are doing similar work in the States, in Australia, in South Asia, and then trying to bring all this knowledge to set something up on the continent, because my dream is to do more intra-African travel and collaboration. Yep.
Amazing. So PastPass is a resource for artists, mainly from Africa, traveling abroad outside of the continent, correct? So what type of resources does PastPass currently offer for artists that are, you know, we touched on visas earlier and different things. So what are the resources that you're providing for artists that may not have the teams that some of the people on this stage have? Yeah, tell us a little bit about that.
So I think it's been mentioned already by the panel who was here before that these visa processes are not streamlined. So the information you're getting on the website for, say, the Netherlands embassy is not exactly the information you'll get in the embassy itself in Nairobi, in Cairo, in like, you know, Joburg, in Uganda. So what we're doing is collecting each set of specific information using the artists who have gone through those processes and applied on the ground, right? And secondly, this resource it doesn't just serve the artist, it serves as an information point for anyone trying to work closely with African artists. So if you've wanted to book someone from like Togo or Benin, right? Do you know whether there's an embassy there, right? Because my friend from Uganda has to travel, from Uganda to Kenya to come apply in the UK embassy in Nairobi, travel back, wait 2 weeks, come back, travel again to pick up the passport and see whether they've been rejected or not, right? So there's those bits of information that we're consolidating on the ground to help both sides of the coin. Any African, Pan-African, Black, POC, collectives and units, promoters, agents, people who have festivals here who want to work closely with African artists need this information. Peeps like Wesley and you have had this experience directly from trying to bring African artists out to your different markets, but a lot of people still find those roadblocks. Like you'll be asked for the most random information, like the Polish embassy, this is the third time I'm saying this, was asking for the credit card info of the promoter at the last minute of the application process. So one, it's very random. Two, I need someone who's like on the phone to give this info, otherwise I lose my appointment, which like you can book for 1 hour and then it expires and that's it. For like months down the line, you can't get another appointment. So consolidating all these resources for the artists who want to sort of manage themselves to start, but also for promoters who want to come in and start these processes from a very well-informed place. Another thing we're offering is, so there's lots of little bit projects that are coming up, and the whole platform will be live in December before it goes into a very intense research stage, because a lot of this information relies on a lot of collecting of the resources, the research. So we're going to be offering access to the conversations we're having with policymakers. So I've been having talks with ambassadors and asking them, why does it take 5 months to get a visa, to your country? Is it because you're understaffed, etc.? So having these direct engagements with them, they can let us know, honestly, what's going on their end. We've had these convos with the Swiss ambassador back in Nairobi, and, the reasons will be because we're so efficient, we're just getting too many applications. We just can't handle this many applications. So we keep pushing back the duration within which you can safely say you're going to get your visa or not. So relaying this information to the public. So having the conversations with the policymakers, consolidating this info, relaying it to the public, and it's super updated, but also pushing for the waiving of these visas and these processes on the continent. Because I said this in an earlier panel, the African market is sort of an opportunity for people who have these expertise to set up structures that are, one, sustainable, that are artist-led. A lot of the different markets that I've played in are super capitalistic, they're very money-driven. I will be touring 10 cities in 3 weeks, and your head is spinning because you're just in club, out club, in train, in taxi club, smoky club, taxi, this. And this is not sustainable. It can barely be called cultural exchange. It's just entertainment. And I feel like there's an opportunity to sort of start building a new structure that's sustainable and slower and more fulfilling. Yeah.
Amazing. Can everybody here in the back, Coco, up? Turn up. Oh.
Me?
So maybe speak a little more directly.
Okay.
As close as you come.
Can you hear me now? Thank you.
All right, cool. This work is extremely, extremely important. I think, like you touched on it, it's for artists, for promoters, and I think just generally speaking, on a deeper level, even for humanity, because it's things like this that help educate, right? Music, arts, it's education, it's culture, and that's how a lot of us consume other people's cultures. I know growing up, even from my family's my lineage being born to Afghan refugees, I connected to my culture through music and arts. Otherwise that connection would have been lost. So even having the the resources to help artists from Africa to make it to an Amsterdam or Berlin or wherever they're trying to go successfully is really important. But then there's also the policymaker side and the fact that you're engaging with policymakers, ambassadors, that is so important is an understatement. But how has that experience been? Because there's so much unfair treatment of people applying for these visas that are specifically coming from Africa and, let's say, countries that are artists that are coming either from Africa or even the Middle East as well. So maybe speak on that, and how have those conversations been when you address it using data that you have. It's not you just saying like, oh, I feel like I'm profiled, and they could say, well, you're not, but you have data to actually support the fact that African artists and African people are being treated unfairly because of the fact that they're African and no other reason, in terms of all the red tape around their travels. So how have those conversations gone? And tell us a little bit about that experience, sharing that research that you've been able to accumulate.
Okay. So the conversations typically are two-faced, I would say, because on the one hand, an embassy or somebody offering these services they don't want to look bad. They want to look like they're culturally progressive. They want to look like they're supporting, the arts. And then they do that, but in the same breath, they have the very real and honest, how do I say? It's like off the cuff, right? They will admit to the fact that because a lot of governments are becoming more right-wing, this access situation for an artist is partially unfair because you're lumped in like a wider category of people who actually do need that access, and people who like are in very real life or death situations and need to actually seek that asylum. And so the restrictions are getting more and more stringent as time goes on, and then the times that we're in right now. So the convos have been very interesting. So we'll speak, and then to some point they'll be like, "You won't share this, will you?" I'm like, "No, I won't share this." But then I'm like, this kind of does need to be brought to the forefront, because otherwise we're just doing a lot of lip service. We're just speaking and complaining a lot. So I do appreciate being able to weave through some of those corridors and hear some of these things. On the other hand, a lot of the information that we've managed to gather has been from the artists directly. So we've had about 3 panel sessions with artist communities in Kenya, hybrid sessions with artist communities from the region, and then a session that we had in January in Bern, Switzerland. And gathering these stories, one, just it riles up so much emotion, because the systemic setup of movement has always been to preserve to keep the classes separated and to keep people out from specific resource, or to challenge their authority in specific spaces. So sharing this information has taken shape in the panel discussions, and it's been very triggering and emotionally riling a lot of people up. But then now we're flipping that and just taking a lot of the different experiences, learning from those. Perhaps I can share 3 takeaways from a lot of these conversations, because they all sort of just wind themselves down to specific points which correlate. So there's the time that it takes to apply for these documents. Promoters need to know that if you have a show in the summer in June, start looking for your African artists as far back as November or October of the previous year, so that it allows enough time for this process to take place. A lot of the requirements are standard. I believe a lot of people from the UK also need to apply for Schengen visas, right? So the documentation on paper is the same, but because of the structural differences, like there's probably the embassy in the UK that's maybe got more staff and it's a lot more efficient, etc., etc. Because we don't have that, the backlog just continues to pile up. And then there's just this confusion, and I think the system thrives off of this confusion. So that they can just say, you know what, because you didn't supply an ID card that was photocopied versus printed, we are not giving you the visa. Like, it's the most silliest, mundane little reasons, and that's where I feel like the profiling and the racism comes into full light. And speaking statistics, a lot of these rejections are not refunded, so you'll pay anything between 350 euros to 500 euros to sometimes 1,500 euros, which is what I paid for my UK visa this year, which was 3 weeks long. Paid 1,500 for a UK visa, 3 weeks long. And I paid that much because I also needed to expedite the process, because I received my shows very late because I didn't have a visa. Right? So promoters need to know, take faith, just book your artists and then start the visa process. A lot of bookers ask me, do you have the visa, when are you here? I'm like, can't get a visa because I don't have invitation to be here, right? So it has to be the other way around. You've identified your talent, try and book them, share all the documentation they need well in advance, and then have someone who's super responsive to these last-minute crazy requests so that they can have a better chance of securing that document and coming through. Yeah. Did I even, I don't know, I think I veered off the question, but
No,
thank
you. Thank you. Yeah, no, that was great. That was great. Thank you for all of that, just all that information, and even just what you just dropped now, which is, getting the booking first and then using that to get the visa.
Yeah.
Because if you do it backwards, then they're going to be asking questions, and then you can lose, I guess, your place, right? Does that happen as well? Like, you could either, the application could either fall through, or what are some of the downsides of doing it the other way? Because I feel like there's a lot of people who do it that way, trying to get the visa and then trying to leverage that to get bookings and say, hey, I'm available to come. I've already got my visa.
Yeah, so if you want to play more than one show in Europe, then book the shows first. But if it's just one show, then maybe you could try and get the visa first. But from my experience, a lot of bookers, when they call me, they're like, are you around in the summer? I'm like, I do need those invitation letters to request for the documentation, for the visa to come and play, right? So what could happen is, if you get only one show, like you invite me to play parallel, I will be given the visa for that specific duration of time, yeah? So the process is taking 4 months. I'm given a visa for 3 days, and I have to ship out before those 3 days are done, yeah? So if I'm in Amsterdam within those 3 days and somebody else at Paradiso is like, hey, are you around to play next weekend? I'm like, no, I have to go back. And then start that process again for coming back to play Paradiso. And then it's costly for mostly me, right? Most shows nowadays are not paying for flights to come out. A lot of the smaller shows are not able to afford to play a full, flight from Africa, and also the flights are just ridiculously expensive. So it does make sense to come together, identify the person you want to book, and then get as many shows as you can, and then lodge the visa campaign a while back, right? So for most promoters, think of your African artists first. Another thing is that because it does cost a lot to come this way, if you have enough money, pay the artist a bit more. If you don't, supplement their one show with other smaller venues, clubs. Your friend is having a party somewhere. That can really help to supplement what they just paid to come all the way in here. And I'm talking for artists who probably don't have management, right? Because I'm not really sure how it works. With management, I think there's probably an advancing of a cost and then recouping after the shows are done. But when you're on your own dime, that one flight in and out has to count. And The visa cost has to count. The insurance, which is non-refundable, has to count for something. And I'm coming to share something valuable, so I'm already counting for a lot. So hopefully, like, if you know 3-4 other promoters who could enjoy the sound of this artist, just shoot the profile out, be like, this person is around, by the way. And that also goes to you working as an ecosystem more than although competition is good, but like also at the end of the day, you will be out-competited out of the ecosystem if you're not part of something that's something solid and soulful.
Actually, that gives me a lot of perspective, because on my side, it's, most of the artists that we're booking, they're coming and they're playing Descendants, and they're usually back to either Europe or, wherever they live in Africa, in South Africa, wherever. But it's rarely a situation where it actually reduces the cost for everybody, in a sense where if there's more routing, from that one particular show, and we kind of split it across multiple shows, and if we're actually doing it with the right intentions as well on the promoter side, in terms of wanting to bring in artists to amplify them, but also being okay with them having other opportunities, because that's actually really good for the sounds, the culture, the entire ecosystem. So that's actually, I gotta start connecting with some more people maybe, and sharing those bookings as well.
Yeah. Just to say that because you booked me for Descendants, that's that one show, I managed to get access to 4 different panels to share this information and to highlight this project. So thank you. Thank you for that. Thanks for believing in the in the product, yeah.
Yeah, like you said, we met a year ago at ADE, and she showed me like the initial, like the first deck you had, right? That was the first deck. And we were kind of exchanging and learning about each other. And when she told me about PastPass, I said to her, like, I want to do something with you one day, And here we are. Like, it's, we've kept in touch. She played with us in July in Amsterdam as well, which was so sick. Did anybody catch her set on Thursday here? Her closing set? Yo, different. I don't know if you saw my post on my story, but I wrote, Coco Em is a mad scientist. She is not a DJ. Shout out to you. That was amazing. So what's your ultimate goal, and what are some actionable things that people like myself and promoters and just general people can do to support your initiative, to learn about it, and provide anything, whether it's, resources, a donation, whatever? How can we support what you're doing? Because I do think that it deserves the support of us collectively, and I would love for you to share if there is a way that, not even just people in my position as a promoter, just generally speaking, how people can support what you're doing, because it's so important.
Thanks. So we are launching the first, we have a soft launch happening in December, as I mentioned. This would be a demo of how the platform is supposed to work. Now, the platform won't be fully launched until after next year, after the research stage, because a lot of the information still relies on the input of a lot of key players in the creative industry, and more specific to that intersection with African artists, Black artists, and people who run, different spaces in the scene. So one way to support us is to follow our IG page. That's at PastPass __. And we'll be keeping the members collectively updated on the movements and how they can now register their different events, festivals, agencies, and so that we can have a rough idea of what's going on outside in the global north, because currently this is already happening within Kenya and the East African region. We have a little database of how many people would be wanting this service, would be needing the service. So following us is a great way. Secondly, we have an open call for all artists, independent artists who need the support both ways, because movement restrictions are it's very selective. I know yesterday I met someone who's dating someone from Liberia, but because they don't have a permanent residence card here, they have to go and apply for some ID, otherwise they won't be able to travel to I don't know where. So all of this information is actually what's going to feed this platform so that it can be more accurate and the information can be more updated. And then thirdly, I first of all want to shout out our co-founder here in the room, Justin Doucette. We can sidebar one another in the room and you can learn more about what we are trying to do. We have a team of about 5 people back in Nairobi, and so if you follow us, you'll learn more about who's behind this project currently. The team is expanding. We have people who are based in Berlin, based in Kenya, hopefully, Meedy, based in New York, who's offered expertise as well. We're getting support from On the Move and from Tamistat, New York, which is great. And they're going to be offering their wealth of information, which spans back all the way to 2006. Collecting information along immigration and migration movements and stuff. So those are the first steps for you all to sort of hop on board this. And then to add onto another, I would say, an ask. A lot of artists that we've been meeting, especially in the last couple of weeks, super talented, have a great concept for working projects, have started the projects, but do not have that startup capital or that fund, right? And a lot of us rely on these cultural funds, but they have too many strings attached to them. They don't really allow you to buy assets. They don't allow you to become sustainable after the funding period. So we are setting up a cultural fund collectively, and that's there'll be very many strategies. We have people who are hopping on board to help with the financial bit of the business, but the fund is more to get people who don't necessarily have a platform like I do to speak on these things, don't have access to gear, don't have somebody like WizKid, for example, started in the slums of Ojuelegba. You don't know how many WizKids or people who are similarly as talented are just having their careers stifled just because of that lack of funding and resource. So we are planning to start a collective fund for creatives, and then we'll see what the criteria and the structure will be. Yeah. So.
Amazing. Thank you so much. So she mentioned follow their Instagram at PastPass 2 underscores, so __ PastPass. Take your phones out before you forget, follow them. And also follow her at Coco Em __ different, I'm telling you. Thank you so much for this conversation. It was so insightful, and I'm sure you're gonna mingle with a lot of people that are gonna be down to help or learn. And it starts with the follow, start a mailing list, newsletters. Let's do it. All right, thank you so much. Next up.
Thank you.
Next up, we have Taxin.